If my closet has skeletons, it's about to be exposed on this show, and I'm scared. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael, and I'm here to review Season 6, Episode 6 of The Real Housewives with very sketchy past of Salt Lake City. So we start the episode off with Heather and Angie K, Elemental P, talking on the phone, discussing everything that happened last week at that chaotic dinner. And I finally watched that episode earlier today, and I am so upset that I didn't get a chance to review it because so much happened. I mean, it was a chaotic episode from beginning all the way to end. And you would think that with this cast specifically, that they've done it all already in 6 seasons, and it just can't get any crazier. And they just continue to push the boundary even further. Like, it's just insane how they do that. Angie K and Lisa, they were going at it the entire episode to the point where, they got in each other's faces. Whitney, I'm not really sure what she was wearing, but she got in between them. She was trying to hold Angie K back. Angie K, I'm not sure what happened prior to filming. Maybe Bravo, Andy Cohen, maybe they threatened her like, look, you need to really show up this episode and do something with Lisa, or else, you're going to get demoted back to being a friend of or something. Because, Angie K, you lost control. You were just spiraling. Lisa, I already expect that behavior from her, but even Mary got into it with Angie because she was trying to calm her down. And Angie K was just like, no, I'm not having it. So Mary, she went off on her. She walked off. And it was just a lot, to the point where Angie K, she grabbed this glass horse, she smashed it to pieces, and on top of that, she started throwing a bunch of her black cards all over to Lisa, like, oh look, I'm rich, I do this. And secretly, if I was Whitney, because she's the one that's going through money issues, I would have been like, Angie K, stop. Angie, stop throwing all those black cards. I would have been sneaking a couple of them in my bra and making a couple of payments in the bathroom like, I'll be right back. We also had a psychic or a medium, whatever he was, a tarot card reader, AKA he secretly Googled the cast prior to filming, right? But he was pretending to not know them. But shh, we don't talk about that, right? And he was just telling them stuff like, Lisa Barlow, the card here is telling me that you're married to somebody named John Barlow. Is that true? And I'm like, and then here goes Lisa. Yeah, how do you know that? Like, that's so totally true. Now that she calmed the hell down, now she's talking to Heather and she's, taking ownership of her chaotic behavior. And she was just like, Heather, I just want to take ownership of everything that happened at that dinner. It was just, attack after attack. And I just feel like I was defending everybody and it was just too much. And I'm just like, okay, she's trying to justify her behavior, but I suppose. But Angie K, don't be too hard on yourself because you gave us a good, a whole hour of good TV with Lisa Barlow. But Heather, she was just like, okay, I'm glad that you said all of that, but we're actually going to go to the islands for a cast trip. And, it's going to be on a super yacht. So I'm just like, oh, okay, that's exciting. So then we see Bronwin and her husband, Angry Santa Claus, going out to get ice cream. And already Todd with his BS. Because the second that they go in, Bronwin asked him, oh, do you want to take a look at the menu to see what you want? I already know what's on the menu. Can't you see that I have eyeballs? I already looked at it. I already know what I want, Bronwin. You don't have to ask me stupid questions like that. And, Bronwin is trying to, be all poised and classy in her Jackie Kennedy outfit. But the way I would have told the cashier, yeah, can you make it 2 separate checks? Since all of a sudden my husband, he wants to be the manager of this place and he knows everything apparently, he could pay for his own ice cream. They sit down and right away Bronwin tells him, I got the ice cream with the 1 cherry on it. And that's my favorite part that I leave towards the end. And I hate it when you eat it before me. Right? So then she's trying to talk to him, but it's like talking to a brick wall, a very angry brick wall with gout dick. So she was just like, oh, so Todd, how's your parents in New York? They're okay. Okay, so how's business? It's okay. Lovely weather we're having today, right? Yeah, it's okay. Like, he wasn't giving her nothing. And I know that she was probably sitting there just so uncomfortable and awkward, trying to just basically pull teeth. Like, I get it, Todd. You don't want her on TV for whatever reason, but she's here. And until she decides to either quit, get fired, or go to jail, she's here. And if you agree to make scenes with her, like, at least give her something. Like, on top of that, the ultimate disrespect, because he reaches his claws across the table, he grabs her cherry, and he slurps it down. After she just told him 30 seconds ago, that's my favorite part, I'm leaving it towards the end, and I hate it when you eat it before me. But yet he disrespected her by disregarding everything that she just asked him not to do.
Yeah, oh, it's just a cherry, it's just a cherry. No, it's the principle that she asked him not to do X, Y, and Z. And he was just like, oh yeah, I'm still gonna do X, Y, and Z. And then what was disgusting was that sneaky smile that he had while he was eating the cherry, thinking he was cute, like, thinking he was sexy in a music video. Like, no, Todd, it wasn't cute. Bronwyn, again, I know she wanted to be, very poised and classy with her Jackie Kennedy outfit on, but absolutely not. I would have grabbed that plate of ice cream, I would have smashed it against his face, and I would have walked out. And I would have went to go fuck two of my neighbors, just out of spite. I would have cheated that night. Because you're just not gonna constantly disrespect me over and over and over again in every scene that we have and make me look stupid and try to belittle me. Like, that's insane to me. And she was just like, okay, let's talk about the dinner from last week. I'm pretty proud of myself because Lisa, I didn't go at it with her. I just let her do whatever, and I was really good. So I should get some praise or something, right? Like, I deserve something. And I'm like, Bronwyn, you also need to stand up. Because why are you asking for this man's approval? He doesn't even give it to her. He was just like, okay, what do you want? I mean, that's the way it should be. So, I don't know why you're hanging out with this group of women to begin with. And I'm like, again, Todd, you're filming on TV. Like, this is a thing. Like, again, she's here. So you just have to roll with it. But, Bronwyn, she was just like, okay, well, I was talking to this tarot card reader or the psychic, whatever he was. And, he was telling me stuff about my mom and everything. And he was just like, oh, well, I really don't believe that. I think it's a bunch of BS. It's a 50-50 chance. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I would have caused a huge scene in this ice cream place. And then she starts crying. Like, he finally broke her. And she was just like, Todd, like, I love this though. Like, why can't you be accepting of the things that I enjoy? Like, if I enjoy this, why can't you be supportive? And, it's just so sad that as a wife, you're telling your husband that, like, again, absolutely not. I would have drained his account, like, in 2 hours, and I would have left him by midnight. Like, that's insane to me. So then we head over to Lisa's house, and she's packing up for the trip that they're going on the yacht. Her husband, John, he's helping her out. But then they sit down, and Lisa tells him, so, John, I was talking to this psychic at this dinner. He was so baby gorgeous. And he actually told me that me and you were going to have marital issues. And I'm worried. I don't really know how to feel about that. So then John was just like, anything specific? Or like, what do you think about what he told you? So Lisa was just like, John, I just feel like underappreciated in my marriage with you. Like, I just feel like nobody gets me. And I just feel like, give me 1 second. Can I get a large Coke, please? Thank you. And a piece of chocolate. Thank you. I just feel underappreciated and I just have so much going on. I have my Vida Tequila, I have my businesses, and I just live a much more different life than you do. And I just wish that you understood that. And John told Lisa, well, I'm hearing you, but it's just always the Lisa show. I'm trying to tell you my opinions on things so we could compromise, but it's always, no, you're always right, I'm the problem, I'm wrong. And yeah, Lisa, with your track record on the show, I believe John. John, he's just kind of there. He's like an accessory to Lisa. He's just there and, nothing more. He doesn't really have a voice. And I feel like he kind of just, threw in the towel, threw in the towel, and he's just over it. And, he was just like, what's the point? Kudos to you, Lisa, for being vulnerable in the confessional, because then she gets emotional. She starts crying and she's like, first of all, why was she wearing that Kyle Richards hat, that cowboy hat in the confessional? I thought it was interesting. She was just like, it's just so hard because I don't really confide in John like that. I don't really tell him anything. And when I do have a moment, I go in the car and cry and I call my dad and I just wish it wasn't like that. And I'm like, wow, Lisa, again, the most vulnerable that I've ever seen her talk about her relationship like this. And I wonder how John has lasted this long in this marriage. I remember I tweeted once, oh, I don't know how John hasn't divorced Lisa by now. And Lisa, she found my tweet and she responded and she put, laughing face, we're obsessed with each other. But clearly the episode shows otherwise, huh? Mary heads over to Angie K's big ass house. Angie opens up the door. You could cut the tension with a knife. And she tries to offer her a drink. Mary, she's like, no, I don't drink that. It has too much sugar. And I don't think that you should drink that either. So she goes in the house. It's awkward. Nobody's speaking to each other. Mary, she sits down. Angie K, she doesn't know what to do with herself. She's going in and out of the kitchen. She's like, give me 1 second, Mary. Okay, I got us some snacks. Some napkins. Here you go. Oh, I need some plates. Give me 1 second. Here you go. Oh, let me go get some water. I'm like, Angie K, sit your ass down. Just playing ASMR with these plates, just moving them around. Mary tells her, look, I just really didn't like your behavior at that luncheon that we had last week. Like, you just lost control. And Mary was just like, if me and you are close, we're like best friends, and if I can't even calm you down, then I don't even know why I'm in this friendship. And it's not that I get what Mary is trying to say, because she's not trying to control Angie K's reaction or emotions or anything like that. I feel like Mary is scared that Angie K is just going to take it too far, to the point where there's going to be no return. And she's going to become a whole different person, because, yeah, Angie K, she's had her little moments here and there where she's just doing too much and she tries to, get a moment on TV. But last week, in the last episode, Angie K she became a whole different person. She allowed Lisa to really get underneath her skin, to the point where you were throwing all your black cards that Whitney should have been stealing, and you were smashing glasses and, going off on everybody and getting in Lisa's face. Like, Angie K was just like,
well, I appreciate that, Mary. I really need to work on my behavior and the way I approach things. And I do consider us very close friends.
Mary tells her that she doesn't get close to people like that so easily. So the fact that she allowed her to be that close to Mary, it means a lot, and that she does love her, and that she can't see life moving forward without Angie in her life. And it's just so, so cute. Like, their friendship is just so genuine. Like, you could tell that they really do care for each other genuinely. Mary, she was just like, I also had an issue with you calling out, the other day about me. I don't like using the word, but F-A-R-T. And I'm like, Mary, what? How are we having a serious conversation? And then she starts talking about this. We see in a flashback that apparently she, and then Angie K just kept poking fun at her about it. And Mary, she felt some type of way about it, I guess, whatever. And Angie K was just looking at her like, wait a minute, Mary, you're going off script. What are you talking about? And then Mary, she called out the dog, Angie K's dog, Celia. She was just like, well, the dog did the same thing. I don't understand why it's the big issue that I did it. It doesn't even smell bad. I'm like, ugh. And then Celia, she's right next to them, and she was just like, like, what, Mary? But Angie K was just like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I won't ever talk about that again, I guess. And that's that. Heather and Lisa meet up to go shopping, and Heather tells her, I talked to Angie K, and she feels bad about her behavior. She says sorry. Lisa, she wasn't having it. She was just like, well, you know what, Heather? She should apologize for being a bitch. She should be sorry for that. Is she sorry because she's a bitch? Because Angie K is a bitch. And you know what? I'm actually glad that we're actually going on a yacht, because she's probably never been on a yacht before. Not like how I have. So Heather, she was just like, look, Lisa, I did not come here to hang out and to talk bad about Angie. I'm not doing that with you. And you know what? I actually have to tell you, I think that the reason why nobody's on your side or nobody's willing to defend you all the time is because you've fallen out with everybody else. You've always gone low with everybody else in this group. And I just feel like they're a bit nervous to even take your side in anything. And I'm like, Heather, are you gonna be my favorite? Like, you're actually speaking truth to Lisa? I am shocked, because usually she is just so far deep in Lisa's ass, that she can't breathe, she can't talk. So I'm shocked. Lisa wasn't listening to any of this, so she walked away from Heather. She took out her sunglasses. She was just like, you know what, Heather? No, you know what? I don't have to go on this trip. I don't have to be here. I don't have to do it. Like, no, since you want to prefer Angie K, it's fine. You know what? No, it's okay. You know what? Because I don't have to count people's money. And if I was to count Angie K's money, it'll be very fucking easy. I don't have to do that, Heather. And I'm like, you see what I'm saying, Lisa? Like, you proved John's point earlier that Heather is finally, telling you face to face, this is what it is. And then you spin it around, and now she's the problem. Now she is the issue, and you're the victim. Like, you do it with everybody on this show, so I can only imagine how you do it in your marriage. You're probably 10 times worse with John, and John is sick of it. And yet you still don't listen. So she's walking away, and you could tell that her voice is cracking. She's emotional. She's about to cry, again, manipulating the situation in her favor to look like the victim. Heather was just like, well, how is anybody really supposed to bet on you? You're a very risky friend. I'm like, Heather, Heather, like, it's just like that TikTok noise, the TikTok sound. I can never give you a 10, but, I'll give you an 8. You'll never get a 10 from me. You'll never get a 10 from me, but I can give you an 8. A 7.5. One of my favorite sounds. But, Heather, I'm pretty proud of you. Keep this up. I like this. And did anybody notice how Lisa was paying for her stuff in cash? What did I say in my last review? I just feel like Lisa or Whitney and possibly Dorit and PK are going to be the next clink, clink. And John, you better run while you still can, while you're still a free man and, not caught, but, allegedly. And, somebody called her out on TikTok about this, and Lisa commented saying, oh, well, I was just using cash because that's the tip money, and I was just buying Heather a nice gift. And I'm like, a nice gift after what? After this conversation? Like, you just felt like you needed to buy her a gift, and why do you have tip money? Like, who are you tipping? The cashier? Like, I'm confused, but Lisa? Then we get a random scene between Pamela Anderson and her daughter, Olivia, and I didn't see this coming. They meet up at a coffee shop to finally have a one-on-one sit-down. Mother, or I do use that word very loosely, Brittany to daughter. And Brittany, she goes on this story about her and Olivia when Olivia was younger, something about a steamer and Tom flipping his car 5 times. And she's so glad that Juan Dixon is not here. Something about joggers, spring, summer. I'm not really sure where she was going. Olivia, she's looking at her like, sips coffee. Okay, so let's get down to the business. And we get a little bit more backstory of their sad relationship. And Brittany explains that everything changed in her second marriage when she was so focused on trying to be the perfect wife to the point where she pushed her children away and she didn't dedicate any time to them anymore. And they went off to live with their dad. Then we get a confessional from Olivia. I'm like, whoa. We're just giving confessionals out to anybody, but, she looks nice. She was in there explaining that Brittany used to be the perfect mom. She was everything that she wanted in a mom, and they had a good relationship, but once she got married, things changed, and she just focused on men, and obviously, her track record on the show, we could believe it, because, she's always just constantly just putting Jared, on a pedestal. When that's no good, when it's a toxic relationship. Even 2 episodes ago, she even said, I don't really know if I want a relationship with my daughter or with Jared. It's just difficult. So she starts giving it to Brittany. She was just like, look, Mom, you are never there for us. You were never there for me. We tried meeting up before one-on-one, but then you just didn't pay attention to me because who? Jared showed up. And then both of you started making out in front of me and you didn't even pay attention to me. And I'm like, wow, Brittany. How disgusting. How disgusting to do that in front of your daughter, but yet you want a relationship with her, right? And Brittany, she starts crying and she was just like, Olivia, you're my baby. And Olivia, she starts crying and she's like, yeah, the baby that you don't know anything about. I'm like, oh, damn, Brittany. Let me go order you some ice. I know I was against it a couple of episodes ago, but I feel like it's time. I feel like it's time for Brittany to get a snowflake for next season. I want to know more of her backstory and why she's so men-focused to begin with. Heather and Meredith meet up at the park to go for a walk, although I don't think that Meredith got the memo because she was dressed like she was going to a fashion show. It was a cute outfit, but all right. Heather, she was wearing sweatpants. So they're walking around, they're talking about what? The main topic, Lisa Barlow again. I can see why she just spirals out of control every episode, right? So then Heather, her argument is that she believes that Lisa did say, oh, do you have any dirt on Meredith? Just so I could keep it in my pocket just in case. She feels that Lisa spiraled out of control last week because she was caught, because she was guilty. And I don't know. I said it before. It's a 50-50 thing. I can see how it could look believable, but at the same time, I feel like Angie just threw that out there just to be spiteful because of what Lisa did to her with the whole text message and the whole Jack thing and the lotion or whatever. So I don't know. Meredith, she doesn't want to believe Angie K blindly because she's also loyal to Lisa. But again, Lisa's track record on this show is also terrible. So, Lisa, you see what you do, when you have a history of chaos on this show? So Meredith, she was just like, well, you know what, Heather? I don't really know. I have loyalty to Lisa and not everything that, Angie K says is gospel. You know what I'm saying, Heather? I don't know. I'm gonna trust Lisa. I don't really know what to really believe right now. But Heather is just so set on, this is Lisa. I believe Lisa. Like, come on, Meredith. It's Lisa. And, it's just so crazy to see all of this from Heather because Heather, she was just, Lisa's #1 fan, and now you're turning on her? Interesting. Mary and Angie K head over to Whitney's house to write down some things that they want to bring on their trip together. Angie K, she tells them, did anybody see the headlines this morning about Bronwin? Whitney was just like, yeah, I was watching SpongeBob SquarePants this morning, and I saw a notification about Bronwin. I couldn't believe that. Mary was just like, wait, what are you talking about? What about Bronwin? Whitney was just like, well, supposedly, and you didn't hear this from me, but supposedly Bronwin, she is involved in a legal case of identity theft. And I'm like, here we go again. Like, can we never just watch a regular episode of The Real Housewives just arguing over petty things without any crime involved? Like, Bronwin, you too? I'm sick of this. Like, like, you know what? I'm going back to college. I'm going to go be a lawyer because at this point, you know, I do way too much investigation on these episodes. And I'm like, wow, Bronwin apparently is like Grand Theft Auto or something like that, identity theft, and like another charge. And I'm like, what is going on here? So then we pan over to Angry Santa Claus. He's at some sketchy bar just sitting there. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Then we see Bronwin. She walks up and I'm like, why did they continue meeting up like she's some type of, you know, high-end hooker and he's just her client or something? Like, what's going on here? You know, she meets up with him the way I used to meet up with my sneaky links. You know, when I used to be a hoe, you know, just show up like, hey, I'm Raphael, you know, before we do anything. It was giving me flashbacks. I'm like, what is with this relationship? Where is she coming from? But they sit down and Bronwin, she was just like, hey, Angry Santa Claus, you saw the headlines, right? He was just like, yeah, I saw that, you know, this is not good for business. It's not good for personal life. Like, we need to fix this. Like, what's going on? Should we call Olivia Pope? And she was just like, you know, I'm not really sure what's going on, you know. And she explained in the confessional that this whole thing is from like 20 years ago. She allegedly did something that she shouldn't have done in college and, you know, something, but now it's all covered up. It's locked and sealed. Legally, she cannot talk about it anymore. And I'm like, you know, it sounds like those excuses that Erica Jane was making, you know, a couple of seasons ago on her show. So, you know, and I said it last year. I remember I said it last year specifically. I like Bronwin, but there's something about her that's very fishy, you know, very tilapia, if you will, you know, and I don't know, I don't know. I want to know more about that, but legally she said that she can't talk about it. But she says, oh, you know, it was like from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you know, it's nothing recent. And I'm like, oh, so you're feeling guilty. You know, it doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago. On The Housewives, they're gonna dig it up and throw it in your face. So I don't know, Bronwin. You know, I saw somebody on Twitter calling her Conwin. Just a mess. But then she starts telling, what's his name? Oh, I don't know if I should go on the trip anymore. You know, I don't know if it's a good idea, you know, because they're probably all going to be questioning her about it. And he was just like, I don't think that you should. I don't think that you should anymore at all because you're just going to come back and you're going to complain that you got into it with Lisa Barlow again, over and over again. And I don't want to hear it. And, you know, Todd is really going to be the reason why her snowflake melts away into water because, I mean, he just does not want her on the show, right? And then he's like, you know, I don't like Lisa. You know, I wouldn't piss on her brain if her head was on fire. I'm like, you know, what kind of analogy, eulogy, or whatever, what kind of example is that? You know, I personally wouldn't piss on you, Todd. Like, well, you know, for the right price. I know I wouldn't piss on him, but Bronwin, it just seems like we're getting to a boiling point that you have to make a decision. It's either gonna be that or you're a snowflake. You know, it seems like you can't have both because that does not want you to be on the show anymore. And, you know, I don't know. And Lisa, I know she's not gonna let that comment slide at the reunion. So we shall see how that whole thing turns out. Let me know what you all thought about this whole episode. And just like I said in my review for Potomac, please do not be upset with me, but I won't be reviewing the next episode because I'll be on the East Coast celebrating Halloween for the week and seeing my family in New Jersey. I'll be celebrating Halloween in New York, hopefully, if everything goes well. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, so please don't be upset with me. Let me know what you all thought about this whole episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.